Hello everyone. Welcome to Information Storage Network. In today's class, we'll be discussing about storage security domains. In the previous class, we have studied the importance of security with respect to storage and networking. We have seen all different kinds of threats and attacks, vulnerabilities, and what are the different measures that we can take in order to prevent those attacks. So in today's class, in today's lecture, we will be studying about storage security domains. We also mentioned about the several entry points that an attacker can use to gain access, to gain unauthorized access. So we'll discuss about all those entry points or all those security domains which we need to consider. So these are the three security domains: application management, backup, and data storage. So we'll be discussing how to apply security controls to all these three domains. So this is what the entry points or vulnerabilities to your storage network looks like. So this is your storage network where all your data and all your IT infrastructure is present. This is your entire IT infrastructure. This is the data storage environment. Then you have the application access, management access, backup, recovery, and archive. This is the secondary storage, backup and recovery. So your unauthorized user or the threat agent can gain access into your data storage environment or in your IT infrastructure using any of these access points. You can call them as access points or entry points. So as an organization, it is our responsibility to secure each and every one of these access points or entry points so that the threat agent does not pose any security risk to our IT infrastructure. So we'll discuss them one by one. Let's discuss the first security domain. The first security domain is the application access. So this involves application access to the stored data through the storage network. So this security domain involves the stored data. So this is where you find the stored data, and access to this stored data can happen with the help of application access. This is generally done by the front end users. Application access or this storage network or the stored data is accessed by the front end users. Hence it is called as application access. Now the second one is the second security domain includes management access. What is this management access? Access to storage and interconnected devices and the data that is residing on those devices. So in your storage, in your data storage environment, there are several interconnected devices like your FCSAN, fiber channel storage area network. So access to that is called as management access. Now there are network administrators. For management access, there are certain network administrators which manage those interconnected devices and the data that is residing on them. So this is management access. The third one, backup, recovery, and archive. Backup and recovery means replicating the data which is already present here and storing it into some other storage device. This is called backup, recovery, and archive. So these are the three security domains. Let's discuss them one by one. Okay, the first one. As we know that first one, application access domain, and what are the threats, how the threat agent can pose a security risk in this particular domain. So as you can see, there are a couple of hosts and there are storage arrays with several different types of volumes over here. So if a user wants to access this data, it can be through a database interface or a user interface. You can use any application GUI or GUI of any application or a database interface and access the data which is present in these storage arrays. Now there are two storage arrays present over here. Host A has access to all the volumes present in this array. Host B has access to all the volumes present inside the second array. Now these devices are connected with the help of an FC-SAN network, and host A and host B are connected with the help of a LAN. Host A and host B are connected with the help of a LAN. Let's see what are the potential threats that can take place. The first one is host A. The first thing is host A does not have access to these volumes which are labeled V2. Okay, so host A, what it can do is it can perform spoofing host or user identity. It can spoof to be some other user, or it can pretend to be host B, and it can try to gain access to this array which is not privileged to host A. These volumes V2 are privileged only to host B. So this is one potential attack. Second potential attack may be okay. The second potential attack is that you have an unauthorized host. What does this host do? Spoofing identity, elevation of privileges. This unauthorized host does not have any privileges to access any of these volumes or any of these storage arrays. So what this unauthorized host can do is it can spoof an identity of this host B. It can pretend to be host B and access all these privileges which are present to host B with respect to these volumes V2 present in this array. So this is another type of threat that can occur. The third type of threat that can occur is an unauthorized user. An unauthorized user can also perform media theft. So media theft refers to data loss. So when data loss happens, it is denial of service. Like for example, if I want to access as an authorized user, I want to access some kind of media which is present over here, and due to media theft which is performed by a threat agent, then there is denial of service. So these are the different types of threats that can occur in an application access domain. Now we need to employ certain controls, certain security controls, so that these things do not happen. Spoofing of hosts, spoofing of users, and media theft does not happen. Hence we need to employ certain security controls. Let's see what they are. Alright. So the first one, how to access the application access domain, how to secure. So you have threats, the available controls, and we'll see some examples. What are the potential threats, available controls, and examples. So these threats, first we need to control user access to data. Since it is an application domain, users are going to access that data stored inside that array using some sort of medium, some sort of interface. So hence we need to control the user access to data. What are the different types of threats? Spoofing user identity. Now I am an unauthorized user, I may pretend to be some other user of that environment, and I can compromise the integrity and confidentiality of that data which is present in that storage array. Another type of threat is elevation of user privileges. That also compromises the integrity and confidentiality of data. What do you mean by elevating of user privilege? Now, for example, in an educational environment, there are different privileges provided to different users, or in any environment, any kind of software and an application that is running, different users have different privileges. So the user with a lower privilege is an unauthorized user for a user with a higher privilege. So when I spoof the identity of that user which is having higher privilege, then I can, this is called as elevation of user privilege. I can elevate or I can increase my user privileges with respect to the system that I am accessing. So when I do that, I compromise integrity and confidentiality of that data. So what are the available controls that you can have? The first type of control that I can have is user authentication and authorization. User authentication and authorization. If I am an authorized user of that application, I need to be provided with certain credentials, and those credentials are my user ID and password. So user ID and password, if I have, that makes me an authorized user of that system. Authentication. So when I enter my username and password, that system has to check whether those username and passwords match with the database or not. Only when they match with the database, I can say that this user is authentic. And also, different users should be provided different privileges to access that system or to access that storage system. For example, strong authentication, like strong authentication refers to username and password. So NAS, network attached storage. Network attached storage implements access control list. So there is a list of usernames which is provided. So based on those lists, access control is provided. So this particular feature is implemented in NAS. So we have seen how to control user access to data. Now we'll see how to control the host access to data. There are several different types of hosts also available in that network, in that storage area network, which can try to spoof the host identity, as we have seen in the previous slide here. This, I have an unauthorized user and I also have an unauthorized host. Now we have seen how to apply controls to users. Now we'll see how to apply controls to a host. So what are the potential threats with respect to a host? Spoofing host identity. So when I spoof somebody else's identity, or when a host is spoofing somebody else's identity or pretending to be someone else, then integrity and confidentiality is compromised. Then elevation of host privileges. So one particular host, so suppose there are 5 hosts, 4 have higher privileges and the 5th one doesn't have higher privileges, then that potential host may try to elevate or have higher privileges, compromising the integrity and confidentiality. What are the different controls? Host and storage authentication. Whenever a certain host tries to access a storage device present in that network, a certain unique address has to be assigned to that particular address or to that particular host. Only by doing so, we can perform authentication of hosts and storage. Access control to storage objects and storage access monitoring. Storage access monitoring. When a certain host is trying to access some sort of data or information present on the storage array, whatever data that host is trying to access, it has to be monitored timely. That is called as, that is a technical security control. That is a technical security control. This is called as accountability. So when one particular host accesses a storage array, whatever data or information that is being accessed by that host has to be accounted, has to be logged. So this is one type of technical security control that can be implemented for hosts. Examples are these: iSCSI storage, authentication with DHCH AP. So this is a type of security control which is implemented for iSCSI storage. This is pronounced as SCSI, S-E-S-I. SAN switches. SAN switches are also hosts. So to implement security control for SAN switches, there is a concept called as zoning. We have already discussed what is meant by zoning. Suppose there are storage arrays, so storage controls that you can implement, security control that you can implement for storage arrays is called as LUN masking, L-U-N, LUN masking. Next is, we have seen about hosts, we have seen about users. Now we need to secure or protect our storage infrastructure. What is storage infrastructure? We have a certain data center. We have different RAIDs over there, redundant arrays of independent disks, and we need to protect them. So there are 2 types of data. Data in flight, or it is called as data in transit, or another one is called as data at rest. Data in transit refers to data which is sent from source to destination. So when the data is flowing from source to destination, it is called as data in transit. Data at rest, data which is stored on a storage array which is resting, it is called as data at rest. So Denial of service can happen. Network snooping can also happen. When there is denial of service, availability of data is compromised. When there is network snooping, confidentiality of data is compromised. So what are the available controls for data in flight or data in transit? Infrastructure integrity and storage network encryption. When data moves from source to destination, or there is one particular host which is trying to send data to another host, right? So data has to be encrypted first at the sender's end, and then has to be sent, and at the receiver's end it has to be decrypted, so that network snooping and denial of service does not take place. Examples: IP storage, fiber channel. In fiber channel security protocols are implemented, and controlling physical access to data center. So all these are examples of the available controls that you can implement for data in transit, when data is moving from one place to another place. Next one, protecting data at rest. When data is stored at a particular storage device or in a particular storage device, then what are the available controls? What are the things that can happen? Tampering with data at rest. Unauthorized users can access to that, gain access to that data which is stored, and they can tamper with that data. They can make some manipulations, some unwanted manipulations. Data integrity is lost. Media theft. There can be theft of media. Somebody may just, some unauthorized users may break into your data center and just steal all your data centers or RAID arrays. So in that time, availability and confidentiality is compromised. It's like just stealing a hard drive from a system. It's that. The first one that you can do is encryption of data at rest. Whenever you store data on a certain machine, it has to be encrypted, or it needs to be password protected, or anything of that sort. Data integrity and data erasure. Data erasure refers to erasing data. Now, you may ask a question that we are trying to secure data, and why do we need to erase it? Why do we need to erase it? So there is, at one particular point of time, data or information becomes obsolete. It doesn't become relevant. So before disposing of any kind of storage media, we need to ensure that the data is erased completely from that storage device, and then we can dispose of that storage device. This is what is called as data erasure. Example: storage encryption services, then antivirus and file extension control, and there are some data erasure services which are available to implement all these controls for data at rest. Next, we'll discuss about backup, recovery and archive. Then we'll go to management. Backup, recovery and archive. So it is called as BURA, backup, recovery and archive. So what is meant by backup and recovery? Backup refers to taking or storing a copy of the original data into another storage array. This is what is called as backup. So whenever some storage array fails or some RAID array fails, then the data can be recovered from that storage array or from that copy. It is either mirroring or it is striping. So this is the local site or my local server where all the critical information is stored. So we have a DR network. So what does this DR network refer to? Okay. DR network refers to disaster recovery. So this site or this copy where it is stored, or the place where it is stored, it is called as disaster recovery, and this is the disaster recovery network which is present. Now if there is no security implemented for this local site where the original data is stored, and also for the disaster recovery site, what can happen? What are the different threats that can occur? The first one, I have an unauthorized host which can gain access to this network, and it can spoof the DR site identity. It can spoof the identity of this DR site. So what do you mean by spoofing of this DR site? This unauthorized host can act as this storage array. So whenever data is being sent from this local site to this DR site, it will not reach here. It will be reaching to this unauthorized host. So this compromises integrity, availability, and all those things. Next, media theft can also happen. There might be some robber or a thief who may just break into your data center and steal all your hard drives. This is called as media theft. So this gives rise to denial of service. Okay, so how do you protect? These are the threats, available controls, and examples. We have already discussed with the threats: spoofing the DR site identity, tampering with data, network spoofing, and denial of service. So these are different types of threats that can occur to backup, recovery, and archival system. What are the available controls? What are the security controls that can be implemented in order to avoid failure of that, or to avoid security threats to that environment? First, primary to secondary storage access control. Primary to secondary storage access control. Provide a username and password to the primary and secondary storage. Backup encryption. Alright. Encryption has to be provided not only to the local storage, also to the DR site. Replication network encryption. Yeah, the network which takes data from the local site to the DR site also needs to be encrypted. So these are examples of these available controls. External storage encryption services. Then there are built-in encryption of the software level, and there is secure replication channels. So for replication network encryption, if you want to encrypt the network, then you can use any of these channels: SSL, SSH, all these protocols you can use. So this is how you secure application access control and backup and recovery archive. So in the next class, we'll be studying about management access control, how to provide security control to the management access domain. Thank you very much.